Hi, thank you all for joining us. My name is Rachael Sears. I am the Vice President of Global Initiatives at SNHU, and I'm also the Executive Director of SNHU's Global Education, or GEM program. I'm here today with Lisa Marsh Ryerson, President of SNHU. We are so excited to have you here with us today, Lisa.
Thank you, Rachel.
Lisa has been president of SNHU since July. Prior to that, she was our provost for 2 years. She's been on the SNHU board for almost 10 years. And Lisa is a lifelong educator. And we're so happy to have you here joining us for International Education Week.
I'm thrilled, Rachel, and any chance that I get to be with you talking about our work around the world is a good day for me.
Wonderful. Lisa, as we think about going into International Education Week at SNHU, SNHU's worked really hard to create a global community of international learners around the world. Can you tell me why we celebrate international education here at SNHU?
Yeah, we probably don't have enough minutes for me to talk about why I'm excited about International Education Week. But Rachel, I begin by saying that it's important to carve out a week so that we pay attention to what we're doing globally. But in many ways, that's every day at SNHU. We think about our commitment to serve learners from around the world in a variety of ways through interesting partnerships or international students coming to our campus, and of course, as it pertains to our conversation with global education movement students, specifically our GEM program. But our commitment to international education is our commitment to educating the whole person, wherever they are. And the ability for SNHU to be reminded of how important it is to serve learners from different cultural backgrounds and perspectives and offer an opportunity for each of us to develop more understanding about nations, societies, cultures, people, helps us be better informed citizens. So I celebrate it every day, but I'm thrilled to be talking about it. It also lifts up the importance of not just SNHU's commitment to international education, but why it's important for many institutions of higher education.
Thank you. What do you enjoy most about your work?
The students. So I'm hoping, Rachel, I think you told me when we were planning for this conversation that there would be an opportunity for you to share some of our GEM student questions with me later on in the program, and so I'm looking forward to that. But truly for me, it's always been about learners themselves, which is why I love working at SNHU, and I know it drives you too, because we're absolutely committed to transforming lives at scale and doing so with the students' needs at the core of every decision that we make. So the opportunity for me to be a teacher, even as president, and to understand that when we're teachers, we're also learners. When we're learners, we're also teachers. That virtuous cycle of education is what I enjoy most about everything that I do.
Thank you for that. When I think about my work with students, I think about the interactions that I'm able to have with them, and I also enjoy interacting with students. Most of all, I get really excited when I have the opportunity to see students in person, when I do site visits, visit our partners. I love watching them walk across stage at graduation and then seeing the impact that they have on their communities and their families. I just recently came back from 2 site visits, one in Turkey at our newest site in Gaziantep, and another site visit in Rwanda, where our partner Kepler celebrated their 20th anniversary, which is really exciting.
Happy anniversary to the Kepler team, 20 years.
Yes. And we have a number of questions from students, as you mentioned, coming up later on in our program today. We had a lot of questions from students as I was going through my site visits for you, and it's great to have an opportunity to be with you here in person to talk to students.
I love hearing about what you enjoy most and where there's intersection between what we enjoy. But I also, Rachel, I don't think I tell you enough how much it matters to me that you take the time to have first person, first partner interactions and narratives, because it makes our educational work with our partners around the world much more significant for learners. I'm amazed at your energy for all of this international travel, but I look forward to the days when I know you're returning, because I know I will find just an enthusiastic email in my inbox after every trip that you take, where you're talking to me about the partners or about the ways in which we're serving students. And as importantly, letting me know where we might want to iterate and innovate in the ways in which we're working with, not with refugee learners in particular, but international learners and universities and partners as well.
Lisa, SNHU's commitment to putting students at the center of our work is seen all over the work that we do, but I really see it when I think about our GEM program and our international program. Yeah, and I'm curious why you think our program with the GEM students is so effective. You know, what do you think makes the model so effective with refugee students? To date, we've served close to 4,000 refugee students. We have close to 1,300 students enrolled right now.
I mean, let's take a moment to celebrate that. 4,000 refugee learners served with our partnerships at SNHU. That means learners served and they have SNHU degrees. How lucky for us. But 1,300 enrolled right now.
Yes, 1,300 are enrolled right now. And I'm also really excited about our pledge at this year's Global Refugee Forum. We pledged 5,000 refugee scholarships for GEM learners. So, you know, I feel like the upcoming years are also going to be really exciting with additional enrollments and additional ways to serve refugee learners around the world.
Yeah, I think it's effective to your question. What's so really special about the GEM model, of which you are the leader, Rachel, and SNHU has made a long-term commitment to this program, is that in our learner centricity at SNHU, our GEM program is the place where we are every day absolutely anchored in meeting the learner where they are. And I want to say that SNHU does that for all learners across our university, but it is literally about the place where our learners are living, the communities that they are building. It's about thinking about our degree programs in terms of pathways to meaningful work in the communities. It's also about time, allowing our GEM learners to pace given all of the other demands that they are facing at this point in their life and in their journey as a refugee, as a displaced person. So the ability that there is self-pacing. Now, I must say, even when I think about that, Rachel, I think you've told me, and I want you to talk about it, that self-pacing means you can slow down when you need to. You also can speed up. But I've found, as I've read our GEM reports, that most learners are on pace and always looking to accelerate pace to unlock more opportunity in their lives. Am I right about that?
You are absolutely right. The majority of our students are on pace to graduate within 4 years. A lot of them graduate sooner. They're exceeding, the pace requirements for the program because they're really eager to learn and eager to move on to their internships and then employment opportunities.
I guess the other share that I would want to add is that, and you know this, Rachel, but our students who are with us today may not know this, but when I was on the Board of Trustees, I had the opportunity to go to Africa to visit several of our sites for the GEM program. And this was a number of years ago, so we certainly have matured the program since then. But it was, for me, having that firsthand experience that helped me develop my understanding of the work that we're doing. And that is that I was able to go to 2 graduations to meet with partners and then meet with learners who were partway through their journeys. And during that time, the amazing diversity of learners who are learning with us in our GEM programs around the world is something I want people to know. So it is also both challenging for us and exciting to think about how we include all of the different perspectives of our refugee learners as we develop our academic programs and the wraparound supports that students need. I was also really impressed with how many of our learners are able to add richness to their academic journeys because of prior educational experiences they have had prior to relocating, and the information they share with me about what we could do better as well as we're developing our academic programs.
That's one of the things I love the most about visiting sites and speaking with students one-on-one is learning all about their successes, but also their challenges and what they'd like to see more of or less of has really been informative. And it really helps us to shape the programs, the academics, and also the way we deliver through our partners because we always want to be responsive to what students need.
That's right.
And you've spoken a lot about higher education leading to healthier lives. And I'm curious, how do you think higher education impacts the lives of refugees?
Yeah, I'll talk about it from my perspective, which is, again, it's the conversation that I would want to have with more of our learners who are refugee learners for us right now in GEM. I think about it first from the responsibility of higher education. I think that you shared with me recently that only about 7% of refugees have access to higher education or learning. And that, to me, is something that we have to address. So there's this opportunity for American higher education and education around the world to understand how much stronger we are when we think about inclusion and access to affordable, high-quality education. There is a great opportunity among refugee learners for us to meet our goals and to do so in a way that will be fulfilling for refugee learners, but also for everyone in our institutions. So, and I think about our GEM program as a very specific commitment we have to a way of learning, which is deeply about strategic partnerships in community. You're working with, and we are working with, amazing breadth of community partners across our GEM model. But there's a learning for us here at SNHU to take away from that too. Who are the best strategic partners? And how do we make decisions about forming relationships, whether those are global relationships for refugee learners, or whether or not those are domestic relationships. I also, Rachel, have top of mind the kind of outcomes that our refugee learners are achieving. And again, if I have it right, in our GEM program, 85% of our learners complete their learning and move into meaningful work. That means 85% of the 4,000 learners we have served, and the other percent will get there, are already taking their degrees and putting them to work in meaningful ways and serving the communities that they interact with. And those stories to me are so powerful. So I think about opportunity when I think about our refugee learners, both for those we serve today and those we should be serving. In fact, I think you've shared with me stories, and because I went to Rwanda and had a chance to visit with learners and our partners in Rwanda, you shared with me stories of learners who are working. One learner is working for an NGO, another, maybe it's Glory, who built a sustainable agriculture system to feed the camp.
Yes, in Kakuma camp in Kenya.
In Kakuma camp. Oh, it was Kenya, in Kenya.
In Kenya,
right, not in Rwanda, in Kenya. Thank you.
Yeah.
For correcting.
Glory, his project, I think, is called Fishing in the Desert.
Yes, but so that is the best of experiential learning, where you have academic studies, but you're putting the theory into action and right in your own community. So I think about resilience and joy and human diversity and connection when I think about our refugee learners and our GEM program.
I think about all of those things. I also think about the way that the GEM program has served as an example for other universities and also a catalyst for other higher ed universities in the world to come together to help serve refugees. I'm particularly proud of some of our recent work with the Global University Academy, where we brought together universities from North America, Europe, Africa, Middle East, and we have combined forces to create stackable credentials so that we can serve a larger number of refugees. And a lot of this work is modeled on the success of the GEM program and the proof of our GEM learners being successful.
Yeah, and that's terrific, right? So when we started our GEM program, we never intended it to be this little, sort of secret operation off to the side, but rather to do great work educating people in communities, and in this case, in communities and in refugee camps around the world. And the fact that other universities around the world are picking this up is good news for our connected global community. But to your earlier question, it's also good news because I am a believer, you're right, I know this to be true. Education is a social determinant of health and well-being. And we see that every day with the opportunity of higher education for our refugee learners.
Thank you for that. I'm curious, before we get to our student questions,
Yes.
because we got a lot of them.
Can't wait.
We actually got so many student questions.
You had to pare it back, I bet.
We did. So we got over 100 questions from students
wow.
and grads. And so what we did was we did pare it back, but we are going to have a separate office hours discussion where we will answer every question
Good.
that we don't
Good.
get to today.
Great.
Before we get to student questions, though, I wanted to ask you, what are your hopes for the future of refugee education?
My hopes for the future of refugee education include my hopes for the future of our GEM program here at SNHU. But around the world, I would say it's so important for me that we come together as educators and as citizens of the world to understand that the fact that we're only serving with higher education 7%, as I said earlier, of refugee education means that there is an abundance of intellect and talent and contributions that refugees can and must be allowed to share. And so my hope is that we start from that premise always and say our investment in refugee education is an investment in individuals, but it's an investment in a global community of people, because we all do better when we all have opportunity and as I said earlier, and a chance to share our talents and our contributions in the communities where we live and are. And to me, it is so obvious that an investment in refugee education is an investment in individual and collective well-being and health. So my hope is that more colleges and universities listen to the GEM story and the SNHU story and learn about your leadership, Rachel, and our commitment, mine as president, but the entire SNHU community. I want our GEM students to know that they have the backing and support of this big SNHU community and mission about transforming lives at scale. So moving forward and continuing to learn, we're a learning community. My other hope is that every day we understand what we get right and where we could do better. Because when we know about what we can do better, we usually do better. So continuous improvement and innovation is important to me as well. How about you? What are your hopes for refugee education?
My hopes are that we continue to appreciate the contribution of refugees and recognize the talent and the brilliance and everything that refugees bring to the table. And I hope that we are able to spearhead opening up opportunities for refugees, because when refugees have opportunities to engage in higher education, they demonstrate all of their talent and all of their skills, and they change the narrative, and they can step up and become leaders in the conversations around refugee education. So my hope is that not only do the opportunities open up, but that we see more refugees stepping up to take the lead about these conversations, and that, you know, in 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, really the leaders in this space will be refugees themselves.
I love that. And it's also our value, right? Put people first always.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about, I hear you talking about the importance of allowing our refugee learners to be the leaders of refugee learning and to teach us about what the next steps are. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%.
Absolutely. I think we have some time now to look at questions that we received from students.
I can't wait to hear what they want to know about me.
Yes. Okay. Let's see what we've got. Our first question comes from a SNHU GEM learner at JRS, or Jesuit Refugee Services in Kenya.
Great.
His question is, Lisa, what is your vision for SNHU and for SNHU GEM in the next 1 to 5 years?
Yes. Well, I think, I wish I was seated with you and that I was with you in Kenya so we could have this conversation. I'm a coffee drinker, so I would love it to be over a cup of Kenyan coffee as well. And I've answered it a bit, but I love the way you've time-bound it for 1 to 5 years. So my vision is that within the course of 1 to 5 years, that with you, with our partners, in this case JRS, but we have a number of partners around the world, that Rachael continues as Vice President of Global Initiatives to lead a dialogue that helps us, based on data collection and review of what we've done since we created GEM, to think about where we have potentially any gaps and any opportunities to grow our program, to continue to serve learners, and to expand the number of colleges and universities who join us in this effort. And I'd like to do that with a carefully crafted strategy, and with measurements, and with your voice being part of it all along.
I knew you were going to go to the measurements and the carefully crafted strategy,
because
right?
if it matters, we measure it. And it's important to me. The program deserves that from us. You know that about me.
I do. And I appreciate that about you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next question is coming from one of our remote SNHU GEM learners.
Oh, great.
This learner is asking, what is the most challenging part about being SNHU's president, and what is most rewarding?
Yeah, I'll start with the most rewarding. Wonderful question, because I was actually not knowing you were going to ask this. We haven't met, but talking about this a bit today with some of my colleagues here in Manchester at SNHU. The most rewarding part of my work is that I get to serve this incredible mission where we are working with you and with learners to help you transform your own life, but to help transform lives at scale through the development and offering of relevant learning opportunities to help our students have credentials and reach your next goals. So people, long way of saying, time with our learners is the most rewarding part of what I do. The challenging part is there just is never enough time to be in all the places where I want to be. I'm constantly saying to you, Rachael, I wish I could go on the road with you more than I'm able to do. So that's a part of it. But I wish I could. And so it really is, a balancing act. I'm getting to be a pretty good juggler with my schedule, but that is always a challenge. I wish I had more time to spend with people. Love that question.
I think we have a couple of fun questions too. Our first fun question is from one of our SNHU GEM alums.
Okay.
She wants to know what book you are reading right now.
Okay. I love this, and maybe you asked this question because you know I love to read, and I love to read mystery books, so we'll get to that. I just wrapped up my second read of a book, Rachael, that we'll be discussing with other leaders at SNHU, or have been discussing, by Brené Brown, called Dare to Lead. And it's one of my favorite books on leadership because it's about being vulnerable, having candid conversations with people. It's about earning and building trust, and it's about courage in leadership and human connection and being present. So I just wrapped that up. But what I want to tell you is the mystery book that I can't wait to read. One of my favorite mystery authors is Louise Penny, and she has in her Armand Garmache detective series a book called The Gray Wolf that comes out in a couple of weeks, and I pre-ordered it. So I'll have to come back for our conversation and tell you how that story goes.
Thank you. I can't wait to hear about it.
I keep checking to see when it will land at the local bookstore.
Did you order it at the Bookery in Manchester?
I did.
I love that bookstore.
It's a great independent bookstore.
It is. So
now I'm hoping to, given the earlier question, that when I pick it up, I have enough time that I can sit and just read all night.
Our next fun question comes from another SNHU GEM graduate, and
Great.
She wants to know, if you weren't president of SNHU, what would be your dream job?
Wow.
I want you to know that when we were putting these questions together,
Yes.
we took some guesses around what your dream job would be.
Oh, did you?
Yes, and I'm curious.
And so now you want to see if it's the same.
Yes.
So first of all, as Rachael said earlier, and I think as you all know, I've only had this great honor and privilege of serving as the SNHU president since July 1st. So it is my dream job. And I'm loving everything about my work at SNHU and our great community serving this big mission. Now here's to the part, Rachel, we'll see if you get it right. If I was not the president of SNHU, which I'm telling all of you, I can't imagine a time when it won't be my dream job, I would go back into the classroom. I am a teacher to my core. And early on in my career, I was a middle school teacher teaching 5th and 8th grade, and I loved that. And then throughout my career, sometimes I've been able to teach. But then as I took on more administrative roles, it took me farther away from the classroom. So if not this, you would find me in a classroom, in a public school, somewhere around the world.
So we have reached the end of today's event.
Oh, I don't want it to be over.
Me
Do you?
neither.
I've loved talking with you
I love talking
about
with you too.
International Education Week as a opportunity to speak about our GEM program and our students. And I felt their voice in the questions as if they're here with us. But I can't wait, Rachel, for a chance for us to go on the road together and to have a Q&A with our partners, with our faculty, and with our learners and their communities around the world.
I can't wait. I know they're very excited to meet you in person. I know that some of our partners did meet you when you traveled to Africa before, but I know that we have some new partners and we've got new sites and a whole bunch of new students, and they'd really, really love to meet you. So I'm excited for when we can take the trip.
And maybe we wrap by just wishing everyone well. And there's so much going on in our world right now that we hold our learners close at all times.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.